In today's lecture, we will talk about uh, process diagrams. So, process diagrams are a bit unique because there are no trends or comparisons to describe. We don't have any increases or decreases for this. It's a bit totally different from the graphs or the charts we studied previously, like the first one that was pie chart, then bar chart, and then line graph even. This one is a bit different. So instead, students must describe stages of a process in logical, sequenced way. The main grammar focus is only passive voice. If you remember, I told you that try to practice on your passive voice because process diagram and then your map, uh, both of them clear, they are based on passives. We will use passives then. So process diagrams can be of different types. It can be linear, then cyclical, then it can be man-made or natural. So it depends. And here I have written here any of the uh, process diagram, if it has a clear beginning and end, we call it linear. Cyclical, a series of stages that repeat. And then mankind, only we use is clear. We use passive voice, and natural use active, also passive voice. We will study them one by one. Examples like for linear, we can say how paper is manufactured. So manufacturing paper, it has a clear beginning as well as end. And for example, cyclical, we talk about the water cycle, life cycle of butterfly. So we call them. Why? Because it's a series of stages and repeat. So the same stage is clear and it repeats itself. And then man-made means that any of the production clear, something that is produced or manufactured by man, we use, or we call it man-made. And here we use clear, like for example, how cement is produced. And then we can have natural, for example, how a river forms, clear, something that's natural. So these are the four different types of uh, process diagrams we need to understand and study. But essential, like for process diagram, clear, what is more important? That's passive voice. You need to understand what is passive voice and how to use it. For and especially it's for what? For man-made process, we simply use passive. Why do we use passive? Because we are not interested, clear, in the doer. We are interested, clear, in how something is performed, not who performed. For example, let's take few of the examples, then you will understand. For example, uh, I want to uh, heat the water. So if I want to mention that, for example, Ahmad heated, Ahmad heated water. So now this is an active form. This is an active. But in process diagram, we are not interested who heated water. We're not interested in Ahmad. We are only interested in what? Heating water. This one. So that's why then we switch, clear, and we prefer using what? We prefer using passive, not active. This is an active. But how we can change to passive? We are interested. Water is heated. Water, it's in the past, so we will say water was heated. Here, we didn't mention who heated water. Because why we are interested in heating water. We're not interested who heated water. So make sure that your process diagram, clear in process diagram, we wholly solely we use what? Passive voice. This one. So simply, what's the structure for passive? I just want to teach you a little bit. Uh, First of all, the passive is what? Subject. For example, if I say raw materials. So raw materials, now it's plural. After this, if it's in present, I need to focus on auxiliary. In present auxiliary, we use is or are. If subject is singular, we use is. If it's plural, we use are. And for the past, simply just change was, use was, and were. If it's singular, use was. If it's plural, then you can use were. And in all clear passives, we use verb third form. Uh, we recognize that it's present active or past active, clear from auxiliaries, not from third form of verb, not from here. Because in all passives, clear, we use third form of verb. Suppose if I said, as I said, RAW, raw materials. So now raw materials, it's plural. So if I want to write present, I can say are. Raw materials are. Can I say is? No. Why? Because materials, it's plural. If I use is, that's wrong. Raw materials are, suppose, collected. Collected. Who collected? We're not interested, but we are more interested in collecting raw materials. So we simply say raw materials are collected. This is present passive. Why is it present? Because we have used present form, are. Collected, so we collected doesn't decide either it's present or past because the third form of verb in all passives, clear, and any of the tenses, we always use third form of verb. It's present one. And the past can be, for example, raw. Materials were collected. So now the difference is only where the difference is only in auxiliary. If it's present, I can say are or is. If it's in the past, we use were or was. Or if it's in future, then we can say will be. Ra, auxiliary verb will be what? In that case, auxiliary verb will be will be. Simply, we can use for the future will be. And then third form of verb. So if I want to use for the future, I can say raw materials will be collected. Now, if you just focus, clear, the third form of verb. So in all tenses, clear, for the passive, we use third form of verb. Collected, 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 collected. Either if it's present, past, or future. What decides about present passive, past passive, or future passive? Only auxiliary. Are collected, were collected, will be collected. So now this is the future one. So remember that in mankind, clear, man-made process diagram, we always use passive voice, not present one. Is this clear so far? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now,
Yes, sir.
if you take some of the examples, the raw materials are collected and can you see, and transported. So we have used two form of verb, collected and transported. We don't want to mention like raw materials are collected and are transported. No need of are again. Why? Because it's already understood that the raw material, we have performed two actions for that. First of all, raw materials are collected and then they are transported to the factory. The mixture is heated. Now this is present. Again, this is present. Process diagrams are usually in present, okay, not in past. So we prefer using present form. The mixture is, why? Because mixture is singular. The mixture is heated to a temperature of 300 centigrade. And then we say the final product. So again, it's singular, is packaged. Is packaged and sent, because the first verb, it has to be third form. Again, if you want to use the same process, then we can use third form of verb to retail stores. So in all cases, we have used passives. So make sure that you understand passive first of all. Then what is more important for us? You can note it down with yourself. Sequence language. You should know about sequence language. Now, what I mean by sequence language, you will have, first of all, beginning, because there are different stages. So if there are stages, so for stages, we can explain initial stage, middle stage, and then we may have the final stage. So make sure you should know about all the three stages, beginning, middle, and end. So vocabulary words we can use for that: initially. Can you see initially? We can use initially, we can say first, to begin with, the process begins with, the process commences when, at the first stage. So these clear, this language you will need. Depends on you, any of the words you like, but I prefer using initially. This one, my first priority, clear. My first selection would be initially. So if you want to explain, talk about the middle stage. So for middle stage, you can use subsequently. My first clear priority would be subsequently. And then if that is final, so finally, instead of finally, you can say ultimately. My first priority to use any of the words that can be ultimately. Don't say finally, use ultimately. This is if there are some simultaneous stages, so you can meanwhile at the same time simultaneously clear while this is happening. So make sure you understand the sequence language, how to begin, how to use any sequence language for the middle, and then an end. And if something that happens simultaneously, so then you should know how to use those words. If you want to write the overview for process diagram, so the overview is a bit different because we don't have any increases or decreases, or there is no bigger or smaller value, clear? So what we can do, this is the process diagram, any of the template you can use for this one. What we can say, first of all, we start with overall, then we will say the process involves. The process involves. Now, for example, if the process, you will count down the stages. You will first of all count down the stages, either the steps or the stages it completes in one, two, or three, and how many stages the process it completes. Suppose if the process clear involves 5 stages, so can we write 5 distinct? So simply you can write 5 here, nothing else. Distinct stages. Distinct mean different stages. Then after that you can put comma, and then you will write beginning with, and then you will write down stage number 1, that it begins with what. Suppose we want to talk about summit production, so we can say the process involves 5 stages. Clear? 5 distinct stages. Begin with raw materials. You can say beginning with raw materials and concluding. Clear? And concluding with. Beginning with, you can write preposition with, and concluding with the last stage. For example, you can say with the final product or summit, ending with, clear? And then you can say, if you want to mention this one, mention. If you don't want to mention, no problem. No problem at all. Simply you can write down the process is cyclical, the process is linear, whatever it is. Or if you don't want to mention, no worries at all. Simply you can use this formula, the first formula. Like for example, overall, the process of paper manufacturing involves how many stages? 8 main stages, beginning with harvesting of raw wood and concluding with distribution of finished product. So this is your first overview paragraph. Because we don't have any increases or decreases, we don't have anything. So that's why, so it's better to write down, use this formula. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on now. Then for this particular clear for the process diagram, you need specific vocabulary. And it's very important, clear. Vocabulary really matters in process diagram because you don't have any increases or decreases. So make sure that you understand its vocabulary. Its vocabulary is completely different, okay? In process diagram, students usually do not need location language as much as they do in maps. Like when we study maps, vocabulary is different. Instead, they need clear, precise vocabulary for what? For stages, sequence, transformation, machinery, materials, and results. Better answers avoid repeating simple words like then, make, and thing, and instead phrases such as like is fit into, undergoes heating, consists of several stages, and the result in the production of different vocabulary, because vocabulary plays a vital role here. We will study that now. So for introduction, what type of like the introduction vocabulary for process diagram we can use? We can simply say the diagram illustrates. So you can say the diagram illustrates how cement is produced. The diagram shows the stages involved in paper recycling. The diagram depicts the process of making cheese. The diagram outlines how electricity is generated from solar power, and the diagram presents the process by which drinking water is purified. So I have even mentioned it here, the use. So you can study it. It's available in your book. So the differences, etc. for these phrases. And then overview, I've already given you the overview, Claire. We talked about we can put and the complete the structure. I have provided you the template, Claire. That's a simple template you can put in at that. Then it comes about, as we already talked about, then there can be vocabulary for sequencing, and there are different stages. We have beginning, middle, and step connectors. These are some of the connectors and final stages, vocabulary. You can either take picture out of it or, oh, let me plug in the laptop. Okay. Uh, so far, is this clear now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
this is the
sir.
vocabulary, Claire. Simply
Yes.
like you need to understand its vocabulary, and there are different stages. So stages, we call them, Claire, useful nouns for that. We can say process, stage, step, phase, procedure, sequence, cycle. The process consists of 7 stages, and we can either say material if there are materials. So how we can paraphrase that? We can say raw material, ingredient, mixture, liquid, powder, Claire. So how we can use an example, there are some of the example, and there are results. So words you can use for results, and then machinery. So they can be crusher, mixer, grinder, heater, clear filter. Different machinery will be used because the process diagram. And then system, machine, device, equipment, system, mechanism, clear. You need to understand this vocabulary. And then for that we can have some of the verbs. So for verbs, like for example, if there is produced, we can say it's a general verb for creating a final product. The process produce clean fuel. Manufacture, generate, form, prepare, process, and how to use them. In example, I have used them. Then words for treatment and change. For example, crushed. Something is crushed. Something is clear, mixed, heated, cooled, dried, filtered, separated, compressed, clear, shaped. So vocabulary for that, it's also available for you. And then movement and transfer vocabulary, we can use passed through, sent to, fit into, flowed, clear, transferred, and then we can say delivered. So different vocabulary words are used because you need to know later on you will need them. And then start point, begin with, start with, middle development, end point. There's a vocabulary you need to just go through this. And then cycle, if there is continuous process, repeat, returns to if you want to come back, eventually returns to C, etc. So this is the vocabulary portion. And you do understand, as I told you, Claire, active versus passive and process diagram. For example, if something is function is crushing, so what we can say, workers crush the clay. We don't use this form, Claire. Best choice is what? Passive is better for, here I have mentioned, passive is better for man-made process report for this one. So the clay is crushed. No need to mention workers. We don't need that. Heating, the machine heats the mixture. Can you see? So it's now not in passive, it's in active. This is an active. The mixture is heated. Passive is more formal in task one. Clear? Task one, like if you want to use this passive, so that's more formal. And then packaging, staff package the goods. No, so it's about staff. We're not involved. We are not interested in the staff. We are interested the goods are packaged. Passive is strongly preferred here. And then natural chain, water evaporates. Water is evaporated by the sun? No. We now in this case, because it's something natural, clear? What we prefer now in this case, we prefer active is better for natural process. For man, as I mentioned earlier, for man process, clear, man-made process, we prefer passive. But for natural one, we prefer that of active, present active. Present active, and for the man-made, present passive. Then
Yes.
we have tadpole develops legs, clear. So would we say legs are developed by this? No, active is better for natural. For any type of natural process diagrams, clear. For natural, we prefer what? Active, not passive then. But for man-made, we go for the passive form.
Yeah.
And this is how like the passive is, as I mentioned earlier, the mixture is heated, the liquid is then filtered, the powder is mixed, the material is turned into small clear pellets, and the final product is stored, and the finished goods are packaged and delivered to shops. So in all cases, we have used passives. And here I use most common for what type of And can you see, just read them, you will understand. And there are like, this is important now, cause and result vocabulary in order to so that resulting and leading to thereby producing, for example, explaining purpose. If you want to explain the purpose, you can use in order to. Explaining aim or result, you can use so that. If you want to connect stage to outcome, then you can use this one. So I have mentioned here the use. For example, the water is filtered. Why water is filtered? What is clear the purpose? In order to remove impurities. The second one, material is heated. Why is it heated? Clear you want to give so that it can be reshaped. So what was the result? The result for that so that we can use. So now these are the example and the purposes. You can go through that. And then weak words with strong academic alternatives. For example, if you want to use made or changed or goes or put in and becomes and thing. So these are quite weak words. I don't prefer using these words because these words are for six. And if your target is 7 plus band, then you can, instead of made, you can say produced, manufactured, changed, processed, transformed. You can say passes through, clear, is sent to instead of goes, is fed into, is placed and turned clear. So this is how like you get, instead of thing, you can use material, substance, product, and component. And then you do understand clear sequence frames, as I told you. So you people can only memorize these words if you wish. You can even memorize this language. What are the common mistakes in process diagram? Number one, writing no overview paragraph. Number first, describing stages in wrong order. There should be proper sequence, and then using too much active voice for mat process. So for mat process, use passive, not active. Repeating then, don't use then again and again, and then forgetting to mention the start point and end result, and listing all stages in overview instead of summarizing them, using the wrong tense for general process. So make sure like your process diagram is usually in present, not in past or future. Clear? So these type of process diagram you can have, like this is the process diagram for what brick manufacturing process. And then you can find in your book about the model answer as well. Then it comes about steel rod manufacturing. Clear? There's the model answer. And then electricity from wave. Clear? So how you can write the model answer is available for you. And then we can have summit in concrete production. Suppose let's take one of the examples. This is the examples for you. It's colorful. Let me explain it. Uh, First of all, this is your question. The diagram illustrate the diagrams because the diagrams are two. So that's why we don't have S with the verb. How cement is produced and how cement is then used to make concrete. So this is the first statement. So, so the first part clear. The diagrams illustrate how cement is produced and how cement is then used to make concrete. This is your prompt. This is the general statement. First of all, we need to simply paraphrase it. Nothing else. We don't have any time. It's in present time. It's in present tense. So we have used instead of that the diagram, illustrate. Instead of illustrate, you can change it. How cement is produced and how this material is then used in the manufacturing of concrete. So the first part only simply we did what? Paraphrased. After that, we want to write overview. And you do understand, remember that the template I had given you. So first of all, count down how many stages do we have? The stages involved. The stages involved in it. So how many stages are here? First, the first stage is limestone and clay. They are mixed. So stage number one. Let me show you. So stage number one is, first of all, we have got limestone and clay. They are mixed in a crusher. Stage number one. And then pass through mixer to a rotating heater. Clear? Here to form what? First of all, they have formed powder, and powder is passed through mixer, and then through rotating heater, clear, they give it heat. And after that, they have converted to in a grinder, clear, to form what? To form cement. And the final one is bags. So first step number one, this is one step, this is two, and this is three, cement, and this is four. So the first diagram, it completes in four stages. And this one, if you just focus the next part, clear? So it involves only one stage. So total stages, it takes how many stages? Five. It takes only five stages. So if it takes five stages, so simply I had given you a formula to put in that formula. Overall, summer production is a linear process consisting of five main stages. Can you see? So I mentioned five main stages. Beginning with, can you see beginning with? So now it begins with what? It begins with crushing of limestone and clay. So instead of both of them, if you want to make it a bit more clear, overview, from overview point of view, you can even write down both of them. They are raw materials, so you can mention clear crushing of raw materials. And next, ending with, so ending with what? Packaging of cement and bags. So if you just focus this one, so the first part, we have mentioned that limestone and clay, it starts with these two and ends with what? With the end product of cement. By contrast, if you just go with the second next picture, so in next picture, what do we have? We can mention by contrast, concrete is made in single step by mixing four materials in fixed proportion. Can you see? So it's a clear, very simple, and it's a single step by mixing four materials. We don't mention names of those materials. Why? Because it's your overview. We don't mention like these are the four materials. Material number one, what do we call that? Material number one is cement, the material number two is water, then sand, and then gravel. We don't mention them. Why? Because it's an overview, and neither we mention that of value. You do understand. An overview paragraph, we neither mention clear the values. So instead of that, we have used what? Fixed and fixed proportions. So that's your overview paragraph. You have completed. Now, if you want to mention about the two main body paragraphs, so one paragraph on one, and the second paragraph we can write on the second, one paragraph on cement production, and the second one concrete production. We can write two paragraphs for that. So to produce cement, first of all, to produce cement, limestone and clay are first fed into a crusher. Can you see? Fed into a crusher. So we do have a crusher machine here. So they are fed into crusher. We need to mention name of the that what is the name of that equipment. So I mentioned crusher. So the first part. And then what happened? Where in a crusher? Where is used for crusher? They are reduced, clear. They are what? Reduced to powder. Or simply you can say that limestone and clay are crushed in what? In a crusher machine in order to form, in order to form powder. And I had given you like purpose of that in order to form powder. So the first stage now you have clear. After this powder, once we have created the powder, so this powder is singular, is then transferred to a mixer. Again, it's passive. Can you see? Now here we have powder. So this powder, clear, once we have clear, it's passed through what? A mixer. This is your mixer. So pass through a mixer. Why they're passed to a mixer? After which the mixture passes through a rotating heater. So we do have a rotating heater. It's passed through rotating heater. So the big one, clear, this is called rotating heater. Why we have passed? What's the purpose of this? In order to heat. So that it should be heat. At this stage, heat is applied from one end of the machine. After this, the heated material, heated powder, okay, the powder that's heated is subsequently means that the metal stage. So that's why we have used metal. Or instead of this here, initially, you can write down initially as well here. This is subsequently sent to a grinder. So now they are sent to what? Into a grinder. After that, once they heat it, clear. So it's now the powder is sent to into a grinder, and once it is sent to a grinder, clear, which produces simple present tense, the finished cement. In the final stage of this process, can you see this is the sequence? I've used the final stage. I've used subsequently the middle stage, and initially you can write down initially here. In the final stage, the cement is packaged into bags and ready to distribute. This is how, like, you have finished the first paragraph. The second paragraph, concrete production is much simpler. Now, the second part, it's much simpler. It involves combining four ingredients in a concrete mixer. Look at that. It's a concrete mixer. They have given you the name concrete mixer. We have got concrete mixer, this concrete mixer, and now it's quite simple. Why? Because it involves only one step. So to involve, they have mixed. Now we can mention now the specific proportion. Why? Because it's your main body paragraph. So if it's main body paragraph, we can simply say the first one, gravel, which accounts for, yesterday we talked about, if you remember, Claire, which accounts for 50% of the mixture. So gravel, if you just gravel accounts, can you see gravel? It accounts for 50%. So the first part we have mentioned is the largest component. Why is it is the largest component? Because that's 50%, followed by sand at 25%. The second largest one is sand, followed by what? By sand, 25%. Here's 25%. And then the third one, cement max up, because it's in present tense. So that's why we use accounts for max up, clear? Uh, Max up 15%, while the remaining 10% consist of water. So that's why we have used consist max. Why? Because it's simple present tense. These materials are rotated together in a mixer until concrete is formed. So simply they keep rotating because they have mentioned that with the red, clear, with the rotating sign. Can you see? They keep rotating it and fixed proportion they have mentioned. And then they keep rotating until clear concrete is formed. And they have used fixed proportions. So one paragraph on this and the second paragraph on this part. First of all, introduction, then overview paragraph, and finally we reach to the two main body paragraphs, and that's how like you can write it. Yes, please. Any question?
Yes.
Any question, please?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
As you explained earlier about the natural process,
Yeah.
we will not be using passive voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Active.
So
Like
we need,
we prefer active. If for natural process, we use active.
like, we cannot use the passive
We
voice.
don't use passive in that case. And for natural, we use like water evaporates. We don't use like,
For
sun evaporates water.
Yeah, yeah. But if we use the passive voice, so it will be wrong.
It's not wrong, but it doesn't like seem natural, right? So the best option is to use present active, not present active, not the passive.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, please? Hello.
No, no, sir.
Okay, so there are a couple of the model answers, so you people can practice them by tomorrow. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will talk about another one, that map, how to explain map. Map is totally different from that of rest of them, clear. So make sure you people practice well. You never know what type of graph you may have in your exam. So make sure you study hard, clear. You understand and you develop your vocabulary for the process diagram. It's all about the vocabulary and it's all about the way you write it. You're not far away from getting achieving 7 plus band if you follow the process what we teach you. But if you follow your own language, you don't follow what we teach you, clear, you will conclude at 5.5 band then I can't help you. So what I teach you, you need to master that language and then you can produce the best. There are a couple of I would say questions for the, and you can send me then, like this is one of the question